Back to ESBR Boxing's YouTube channel. I'm riding solo for this one, but before I get into it, please do subscribe to the channel if you're not doing so already. We've got plenty of content, especially upcoming with the Usyk Fury 2 rematch, and then obviously into the new year, a couple of shows in January, Jai Opetaia, and then obviously in February we've got a couple of massive shows, with the Artur Beterbiev Dmitry Bivol rematch, headlining in February 22nd with a whole host of unbelievable fights on the undercard, including Daniel Dubois, Shakur Stevenson, Boatsi against Smith, and plenty of others as well. So yeah, please do check out the channel, hit that subscribe button, like this video and others if you do like our content. And yes, please do drop in the comments your opinion on what I'm about to discuss here. But yeah, this is a reaction video to what I've just witnessed there. It's Conor Wallace picked up yet another win. I'll go over ASEMHALE, WELLEM. Really, really good fight, really competitive light heavyweight fight. I thought. I mean, Wallace was a big favorite going into it, and you could see why. But Wellham, game is to come. Honestly, he had his moments actually. Wallace kind of started the better on the front foot, but especially early, Wellham, did tag Wallace a few times, and I don't think we're used to seeing that with Wallace. He kind of was more planting his feet and was taking a few shots. I think offensively, Conor Wallace looked pretty good, but in my opinion, there were a few frailties there defensively that, going into 2025 and beyond, and if he's moving up those levels to eventually fight for that world title in the next year to 18 months, I think, yeah, there'll definitely need to be a few improvements there on the defensive side of things. But yeah, as I said, the games that come, fourth round in particular was probably the best round of the fight. I think it started with Wallace. I think Wallace knocked down Wellham early on in the round and kind of went in for the kill. But by the end of the round, um, it was I'm sorry, another way around. It was Wellham started the round better against Wallace. Actually hurt him. Had Wallace walking backwards, looked a little bit shaky. He wasn't unsteady on his legs or anything, but definitely gained his respect and hurt him a little bit there. Had Wellham, and he kind of went for it. At which stage then Conor Wallace's corner kind of told him to get back to the game plan, get back to his boxing, and from that southpaw stance, he looked brilliant from then on out. I was landing that backhand left from the southpaw stance quite regularly. Um, he knocked Wellham down himself with a cracking body shot just at the end of the round. Wellham did get back to his feet, but was visibly hurt in the corner. Took another few rounds after that, again competitive, but Conor Wallace was picking them up, and then yeah, as he as it got to the end of the eighth round, he knocked Wellham down twice, and yeah, the referee waved it off correctly. In my opinion, it didn't look like Wellham was gonna win there from there on out with another just two rounds left, with it being a 10 round contest. So, yeah, but interesting fight. Kind of the talk was, I think I heard in commentary they mentioned, will Artur Beterbiev or Dimitri Bivol have an eye on Conor Wallace? I know he's decently ranked with a couple of governing bodies, but for me, no. I think he still has a couple of levels to go before he reaches that. I mean, you look at even the light heavyweight scene in Britain at the minute. You've obviously got Smith Boatsi, as I mentioned, fighting Callum Smith, Joshua Boatsi on February 22nd. That's a cracking fight. You've also got just below, you've also got Anthony Yard in the mix, depending on what he does. Then below that, obviously, I think you've maybe got the likes of Lyndon Arthur, Willie Hutchinson, Craig Richards, Zach Parker, potentially, fighters of that ilk. I don't think you can rush Conor Wallace into big fights with, world champions. Say those belts, whether it be Bivol or Beterbiev, or if those belts get fragmented in the aftermath. Don't know what's going to happen at the end of February. Um, yeah, then I think that he's still a good bit away, in my opinion. Um, the Irishman obviously now residing in Australia. I think he's a good fighter. Could have seen him winning a world title in the future, potentially. But not anytime soon. I still think there's a lot of improvements there to be made with Conor Wallace. I think he did take a few too many shots there for my liking. I think that if you're fighting the likes of a Beterbiev, you'll get stopped the way he fought. Bivol would kind of probably outbox him and maybe even stop him. I know he's not seen as the biggest puncher, but I think Bivol would maybe even have a chance of stopping him. And yeah, a couple of those other ones, like they're the interesting ones for me. Before you're talking of a world title shot, maybe why not throw him in with an Anthony Yard, someone like that. See, right, the winner there gets a world title shot, or as I said, Colin Smith, Joshua Buatsi. you'd like to think that the winner of that fight is in a really strong position for the remainder of 2025 to throw their name into the hat for a big fight at in the world scene at 175 pounds. Could Conor Wallace be a man that fights one of those two in a final eliminator for a title? If the belts become fragmented, depending on what Beterbiev or Bivol do, I mean, then you can kind of look at that and say, well, could Conor Wallace get a vacant title shot? That's against one of those names or a favourable name. If you got a vacant title shot against a favourable name, you someone who's highly ranked but maybe isn't the substance isn't there, you could probably see Conor Wallace picking up a world title. But for me, for now anyway, there's still a lot of improvements to be made. Um, but yeah, there are a couple I would like to see the light fights with the likes of Boatsi, Callum Smith. Obviously Callum Smith, the former world champion at super middleweight, been in the ring with Beterbiev. Canelo, there's only two defeats, so quite good company there. Depending on what happens with him and Boatsi on the 22nd of February, do you throw Conor Wallace in with either the winner or the loser there? Remains to be seen. I think obviously now that Conor Wallace has signed Matchroom Boxing as well with Eddie, there's going to be a few fights that he can make maybe before he throws him into that world level. Or as I said, if those belts become fragmented at 175 pounds, he could well get a vacant title shot and maybe even win that. Guys, just react. That's it. That's all I have time for. Just reacting to Conor Wallace's eighth round stoppage over Asim Al Wellem. Apologies if I got that name a bit wrong, but yeah, good performance. Took a few too many shots from my liking, but ultimately got the job done. Got his opponent out of there. We can move on and look ahead to a potentially big 2025. Please do like this video. Drop in the comments what you thought of that performance from Conor Wallace and what you want to see him do in the upcoming year. And please do subscribe to the channel if you're not doing so already. Thanks very much for watching, guys.